Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Blackout Racing League. It's week 2 of season number 16. Today, we head to Miami and the land of the upside down, where it's very dark and scary and cold in Australia. How are we all doing? I hope you're all having a lovely day so far on this date, the 10th of June, which coincidentally also happens to be my dad's birthday. So, say happy birthday to my dad right now. That is an order. Anywho, what can we expect from this week? Well, let me tell you something exciting. There's only 6 points between the top 3. Yeah, I know there's only been 1 week, but like, come on, I'm gonna make it sound exciting, aren't I? Thanasi, Timalele, and Milo, 53 points to 47. That's all that separates them. Mercedes lead the Constructors' Championship by 1 point over Red Bull. 1 point. My gosh, even real life can't be this exciting. However, I have something very, very, very enticing to show you. Something so exciting, it's even more exciting than the day of my actual birth. It's the calendar for season 16, and you'll never guess who made it. That's right, it's the main man, Magico. He's at it again. You can't stop him. This graphic designing genius has created something graphically beautiful. And I am here for it every single day of the week. Week 1 has been and gone, unsurprisingly. Bahrain and Jeddah, they are toast. Today, though, it is Miami and Australia, and then we can see what the calendar has in store. Week 3, race number 5 of the season next week is in Qatar. Spelt as such with this... Hang on, let me just emphasise it for you. I can't emphasise... What have I just resized? I resized something. It was the wrong thing. Can you see the R on Qatar yet? You know why that's there? Because there's going to be a lot of people out of that race. And that's a good precursor. Then we have a week of 3 races. My goodness me. There's apparently Baku, Monaco, and France. That is, if we haven't already moved to F124 by that point. We are still on F123. I can confirm for this week. There have been whisperings in the air, though, that F124 is just round the core. Nah. Week 5 then becomes a sprint race in Las Vegas, a bit of a lottery ticket. Whoever plays their cards right will reap the benefits. Then we have the Japanese Grand Prix Pikachu's home race for 50%. Imola and Spain are next up. Imola, 35%. Spain is 50%. And it is going to be pure pain, so that is aptly named. Austria, a 35% race. And then Silverstone, 50% on July the 15th. With, Canada on 100%. 100% race in Canada on the 22nd of July. That'll be very interesting indeed. Another sprint race at the Hungaroring, which J-Lane won last year. Well, last season, should I say, but hopefully he can do the double on that particular front. Spa is the 50% race on the 29th. 5th of August then turns into the Netherlands sprint race, and Monza, 50%. 12th of August, I don't even know if I'm here on the 12th of August. I will completely be honest with you. I don't know if I am. But either way, regardless of whether I am or not, it's going to be a 3-weeker, and it's going to be Singapore, as you can see, as they call it, because it's Sing. They call it Sing. That was rude. You cut me off. That was my best note I've ever done. Oh well. Anyway, we're off to the Chinese Grand Prix after that, where everything in the world is now made. And then the Portuguese Grand Prix. Weird how they couldn't keep France in F124, but they could keep Portimao. Make it make sense. We then have COTA, another sprint weekend. Good golly, I think this one actually is the week I'm not here for. I'm actually in Devon on that week. So I'll be by the seaside, and these lot will be sweating it out around COTA. And the Japanese flag looks a lot different from what I remember it. That is quite interesting. Either way, it's a 50% race in the land of Spanish Japan. We then head over for the final week. Abu Dhabi, a sprint race and a 35%er, before going to Brazil for the final race of the season and the 50% race. That is the calendar overview, ladies and gentlemen. The lobby is up. I am going to go and join it like the sweaty scoundrel I am. And let's talk about what we can expect this week. Look at these graphics. Look at these graphics. Magico has cooked, ladies and gentlemen. What an absolute driller. For some reason, Timalele in breaking the fourth wall here. People prepare for the Blackout Racing League in very, very different ways. You have, for instance, a Jamie Tarquin. He's a controller player, but he's a very quick controller player. You have Milo, who's currently playing the game, just testing out, practicing. You have Magico and Tim, who I would assume meticulously practice. Timalele's just sent a can of WD-40 into the chat. Well, if he prepares by oiling himself up, that's his problem and not mine. So we're going to move on. Let's talk about something different than Formula 1, because the Canadian Grand Prix did happen, and you'll never guess who won. But only because he is the quickest driver on the grid right now. Where did his teammate finish? In the skip. So let's talk about something different, because I can talk about the Canadian Grand Prix for ages and ages, but I haven't got ages and ages. I've only got 4 minutes. So let's talk about football. Let's talk specifically about my club, Chelsea. They've signed a player called with the first name Tosin Adarabioyo. And well, the only thing, well, it's aptly named because they're tossing away their hopes of a Premier League title. I just let you all enjoy that joke and digest my sense of humour. We have about 3 minutes until we get underway. Unfortunately, there's only 2 people here, which are Buck20 and Maximus. So already the top 2 has been decided for today, unless the others get a wriggle on. Let's talk about what happened actually last year at both Miami and the Australian Grand Prix. So the Miami Grand Prix in qualifying, on pole position, was Tanasi. However, who won the race? It was me. Then Australia happened. Who got pole position? Well, it was me. And then who didn't win the race? Me. I don't want to talk about Australia. It was the only race of last season I didn't record. And I'm glad I didn't, because thing is, right, listen, you have to picture the scene here, everybody. I got the best start in the history of starts in Formula 1. Unfortunately, the FIA apparently forgot to turn the lights off at the right moment for it to be classified as the perfect start. And so I jumped the start by about 4 seconds. Great start. I absolutely rocketed away, and then the plan was to just go in to serve my drive-through, but then a safety car came out. And then I made my way all the way back up to P2, having served my drive-through, and got the new tyres on. It was some great racecraft on display. Right up until the moment I apparently sped under safety car, to which I was slapped with another drive-through, which I served, and I thought I was going to get 10th instead of 12th, only to cross the line and find out that EA had put their fist where the sun certainly didn't shine, and I finished 12th. So that's a race we don't talk about. So very much contrasting fortunes for me in Miami and Australia. A lot of the drivers won't be hoping for contrasting fortunes. They'll just be hoping for upwards trajectories left, right, and centre, especially the championship top 3. So now the waiting begins. Very, very patiently. I see a Buck20. I see a Magic Co. in the lobby. It's all beginning to cook up here in the wonderful world of the Blackout Racing League. Here's what we're going to do then. We've got, well, I was going to say 1 minute, but it's going to be more than 1 minute because there's only 4 people in the lobby. So, we're just going to slap on some sexy tunes. That's a bit loud. We're going to slap on some sexy tunes, and then we are all going to eventually come back together in a nice conglomeration of congealed mess. Don't picture that, actually, but the point is, Blackout will be starting very soon.
Try that, everything coming right back.
Breaking news before we cook up. Jamie Tarquin might not make qualifying. That's it. That's the news. I'm going again now. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines because it is time for qualifying. That was a nice calendar, wasn't it? It's time for short qualifying at the Miami Grand Prix, and it's going to be a fantastic qualifying session. Like I said, last year it was Thanassi that claimed pole position. That year it was for the Mercedes team. This time, he's with the Red Bull boys. That immediately could put him on a register. That concerns me slightly, but anyway, the point is that he's going to cook up something quite foul, which, considering my last point, probably isn't the right thing to say. But straight into qualifying, we hurtle ourselves into the pit lane, the DHL sponsorship ringing out, and there are 13 of the greatest blackout spectacles you have ever seen in your life. As you can see today, this is our grid lineup. The drivers that are taking on the gauntlet of the Miami Grand Prix and the Australian Grand Prix later on tonight. First of all, we have Maximus in the Haas car. We have Big Sam, Big Swimmer in the AlphaTauri. Pathiman, welcome back, sir. Welcome to Season 16. Hopefully it treats you well and with many victories. Buck 20 in the McLaren. He has arrived. Dirkleton in the Aston Martin rides on alone because Jamie Tarquin, Jamble, is on a scramble. Magico, 6th place currently, but 1st place in my heart. Out of the pit lane he goes. Look at that sexy minx. The purple helmet helps me to reflect on all things blackout. Vulcan in the Alfa Romeo, Stark in the Williams, Miller in the McLaren, J-Lane in the Alfa Romeo, Tim and Terziak and Thanassi in the Mercedes, the Ferrari and the Red Bull respectively. Jamble Tarkle is now in the session, and I'm going to get a nice little mini map up. I say a mini map, it's a max map out. Look at that thick boy. Miami got their cookie cutter from Interlagos and got it a bit wrong. Rather unfortunately, they actually made it worse, which is actually completely possible because Interlagos doesn't need improving. It is already perfect. Cope and seethe. Big Swimmer then. The first... Sorry, let me try that again. Big Swimmer, the first one out in this session. Already testing the track limits, and he's already invalidated. He's testing the track limits on his outlap, and he's invalidated. It's not a great start for the biggest swimmer in the United Kingdom. However, it's luckily not his actual flying lap. So, with the red light blinking furiously at the rear end of his AlphaTauri buy one, get one free car, we're going to ride on board with Big Sam, which tells me to get off. That's really impolite. But either way, we're going to ride on board with his blackout, and I'm sorry, I don't care. DRS wide open, and let's see what Big Swimmer can cook up. Into turn 1, braking just after the 100, trying to pinch the apex in, but it's this next couple of corners where the momentum really matters. You want to try and hook the car on that left-hand curve just a tiny bit, not boxing it out, but enough that you get the rotation, get the car straight, and then you fly through these corners. Don't have to brake with that first left, but brake later than you think here, and then pinch the car in early on the power, straighten out the car, use all of the track, and away we go. Like a bullet out of a gun, and then hurtling down the back straight. DRS flap wide open. And now using that slipstream, that fresh oxygen, gobbling up that obnoxious oxygen, slamming on the anchors, and then trying to turn to port before heading starboard through the right-hander, hugging the inside wall. And this is where track limits can be your best friend or your greatest foe. Big Sam luckily has neither at his expense, because he has taken that actually quite well. It's a good friend of his. A purple sector 2. Big Sam is cooking as he heads down the penultimate straight of the entire lap. Flappage is being engaged, and that is not a sentence you hear on many a commentary. The number 7 driver, can he channel his inner Kimi Räikkönen? I don't know what my pronunciation is, but can he have an ice-cool head running through his veins? It's only the coldest Antarctic veins, because he's P1 with a 1 minute 28.6. However, Magico could be cooking up something here, ladies and gentlemen. The number 34, which is probably where he felt like he finished in Saudi Arabia last week, but he's going to try and rectify that very shortly. DRS flap will open just before the start-finish line. Across the line, it is not ahead of Big Sam. It is, in fact, 6 tenths off, as the McLaren of Buck 20 is, well, he's going to end his flying lap. It's Miller actually crossing the line. Magico gets dutifully out of the way. Vulcan into P2 and only 300ths off. I tell you what, Vulcan, let him cook. He did it in Miami last season. He's going to do it again this season, and I do love to see it. Buck 20 through the final corner then, hugs that inside, DRS open, and it is fastest for the McLaren driver. Back in Blackout like he never left, and that's a good way to avoid an AC/DC copyright strike. Just, well, almost 2 tenths ahead for Buck 20. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. It's a good starting point. Jimothy Lane hugging the inside of the final corner. He now goes fastest with a 1 minute 28.2. Channeling his inner Hungary sprint race from last season and finding himself firmly with a sea of purple around the Miami track. And that is the most real sea there is at this track because the marina is a shambles. Anyway, what's Milo up to? Oh, he's invalidated his lap. Oh dear, and almost hits the wall for good measure. A huge tank slapper out of the corner, but luckily hasn't hindered him too much. He keeps his nose clean, and Voldemort is, well, unfortunately, depressed. Patherman, I assume, on another flying lap, pushing the limits, pushing them too far, managing to save the car. Credit where credit is due, that looked practically unmanageable, but Patherman has managed said problem very well indeed. Caught what is a very lively rear end, and so he will open up the DRS flap, but he will have to go again. There is absolutely no doubt about that. And will he peel off into the pits? I wouldn't be surprised if the answer is yes. Shock. Anyone new out on track? The answer is Jamble Tarkle and Tony Stark is out on the track. Both of them on outlaps. And how much metal is Mr. Stark made of this time? What will the calculations be to achieve a feat of pole position for this wonderful astrophysicist? Only time will tell. Jamble Tarquin getting racy on the outlap. He's overtaken Stark. Perhaps trying to look for a slight toe off the Ferrari up ahead of Terziak. You never know. It could happen. Let Terziak cook, though. Said it wasn't his greatest week last week, even though he's fourth in the standings and still actually, considering how Jeddah started out, actually ended pretty well, I would say. So it's all to play for. One race weekend never defines the casual driver in the Blackout Racing League. And by casual, I mean they will rip your throat out. Don't mess with them. They will actually eviscerate you. Anyway, through the first sector, it's actually a very nice and clean affair from Terziak. The Flying Scotsman in an Italian car gets the purple sector 1 and already is conjuring up an absolutely filthy showing here in the marvellous Miami settings. It's only marvellous in the game. Actually, it is marvellous in real life. Lando Norris won there. So I guess it's a good track now. Through the Michael Rat section. Looks nothing like Michael Rat whatsoever. Why do they call it that? They are stupid. Clattering over those curves. Terziak leaving no stone unturned whatsoever through that section. And it's a purple sector too. He was not starting as he meant to go on in Blackout last weekend. Said it wasn't his greatest. He is firmly stamping his authority on this particular lap. Just one corner to go then. Braking at the 100-metre board. The car pinches in. It's fantastic. Darting out of the corner. Tyres bite into the bitumen. And now he propels his way through for an absolute perler. Into the 1 minute 27. And that is absolutely fantastic from the Ferrari driver. However, there are many takers waiting in the wings. Stark being the first of them in one of the Williams sisters. That's very much illegal, but across the line it's P7, so thankfully that didn't escalate as much as I thought it would have. Jamble Tarquin is washed. He's 13 seconds off the pace. Anyway, the Slobberknocker, one of the Slobberknockers is out and about to size one up. Here goes Thanasi in that Red Bull car. Up ahead, Jamie Tarquin begins another lap, and he's actually managed to procure Fernando Alonso's helmet. You sick freak. Through Sector 1, though, it is purple, so despite his helmet shenanigans, he's absolutely scorching in terms of pace. I don't know what to make of it, personally. Getting close and personal with that inside wall. Don't want to get too close and personal with Barrier. He will rip you a new one as he pinches into that particular apex. Timalele is also out on an outlap. Thanasi just has come through Sector 1. No idea what time he's currently on. I don't have the telemetry. Jamie Tarquin clips the inside wall with his left rear tyre. It already invalidated anyway. And he's knocked, but he's given a nibble to Barrier for good measure. Timalele will arrive on the scene of this particular kerfuffle. Luckily, won't be hindered because he's on an outlap. What Jamie Tarquin needs to do now is make sure he gets well out of the way of Thanasi, who's invalidated his lap. Who knows what it would have been? I actually don't know what it would have been. What would it have been? Let's find out, everybody. Let's find out together. I don't want that. I want the lap data. I actually have no idea. He's saving up his battery. Terziak's left the session. He's decided that's qualifying done. Confidence by the absolute oceanful. Oil tanker didn't quite fulfill the criteria. It's Milo who's on an actual lap, though. So we're going to watch what the McLaren man can muster up in Miami across the line where the team did so well in real life. And Milo is continuing that trajectory onwards and upwards for McLaren. Nearly 3 tenths ahead of his next closest competitor. But Tim and Thanasi are on the move. The T's in Blackout are inevitable, honestly. You just can't escape them. Terziak's quick, Timalele's quick, Thanasi's quick. When will it end? If your name begins with the letter T in Blackout, inevitably, you'll just be quick. Timalele briefly with a purple Sector 1 there. Can Thanasi conjure up a purple Sector 1 as he heads through the split? It's not a purple Sector 1 for the Red Bull driver, although he did push his tyres a little bit on a lap before, so that would probably be why. Hugging the inside is Timble. Hopefully it isn't Timber through this section. Taking it very cautiously indeed. Extremely cautiously, in fact, leaving plenty of time on the table. It's still a purple Sector 2, despite all of that. Will Thanasi be as conservative? I don't know, because I haven't gone on to him. The answer to that is definitely no, but he's gone quite wide. Back to Tim at the hairpin. It's all happening. Slam on the brakes at the 100-metre board. And then put your foot to the floor at the earliest opportunity. The rear end just about gripping up. It's squirming, it's squealing for dear life. But the Pirelli's resuscitated. Tim is not on pole position after all that. I thought that was almost surefire, but he's 300ths off. Goodness me. Well then. Milo carrying on from his Saudi Arabia progress. Thanasi, though, absolutely squashes it. 1.5 tenths. There it is. And the Sector 2 might not have been optimal. The Sector 1 might not have been optimal. But the final sector was where it certainly counted. And Thanasi finds himself currently in provisional pole position. But there's just under 6 minutes to go. They better get a move on back to the pit lane if they want to actually get another stab at a qualifying lap here. It's not a lot of time for a turnaround here. I was going to say it was the same last season. However, last season in Miami, it was actually a wet qualifying. It was intermediates all the way through. I could have conjured up a P1 lap, but I invalidated my time. And that's really the point here in qualifying, is that you need to have a time on the table at least, just to garner yourself and gather and gain confidence. It's the power of 3 all over the place, but it's true. You've got to give yourself as much confidence as possible on your first lap to think, yes, actually, I can push a little bit more here and a little bit more here. I won't tell you what my time trial time is. Let's put it this way. It's absolutely filthy. As Derek Dirkleton moves up into 10th place, a hair's breadth away from the 1:28 barrier, being crushed, and he spun, he's in the wall. Dirkleton, a very, very clumsy spin around, and good grief, only just gets out of the way of Jamie Tarquin, whose heart probably is inside his esophagus. Someone call him a doctor, and he's struggling with said problem medically because he's just had a slip and slide through that first sector. Probably turned the battery off, and yes, he has. And despite being 400ths up on his 1:40.1, it would still be an improvement either way. He will probably want to cool this lap down and then go again very shortly. Stark probably next across the line, I assume he is. However, 2 seconds off his lap. It's not the way he would have wanted to go. However, probably will peel into the pit lane, strap on a new set of soft boots, and then go again. Is that Pathiman I see? No, it is in fact Maximus I see. But again, it's not been a great lap. He's going to peel into the pits and consider his life choices. I mean, his options. Sorry, why did I say that? Big Sam isn't considering such things, though. He's hugging the inside. It is a marginal improvement. It is an improvement nonetheless, though. And he puts himself a bit further out of reach of Vulcan, who, if you have watched on J-Lane's channel, Jlan3 on YouTube, subscribe and watch all his videos right now, at the Austrian Grand Prix was not afraid to dive bomb absolutely everyone, not least his own teammate. Next to cross the line is, well, Jambil Tarquin has crossed the line and is on his merry way. Pathiman will be next to cross the line. Unfortunately, it's an invalidation, and despite being quite a sizable chunk up, he's going to have to enter the pit lane, get some soft boots on, and go again. Buck 20 has, oh no, it's a gearbox problem. Oh dear. Well, he was down on his time anyway, but now we know why properly. That's really exasperated the issue. And by that I mean exacerbated the issue, but his gearbox certainly is exasperated. He goes... What? J-Lane through out of sector 2. Not afraid to get some wheel spin, and certainly not ashamed of it either. In the Alfa Romeo kart, testing the DRS works. Always good to know that your rear wing flap is still present and on your motor vehicle. That's the crucial thing. I apologise if I sound like I've been on an airplane for all of you watching. If you are, welcome along to the Blackout Racing League. I do profusely apologise. I have... hay fever is killing me off, and it's absolutely horrible. However, not enough to stop me commentating. Take that, hay fever. You are nothing, son. Terziak is out of the pit lane, and I have no doubt that the top 3 will do much the same very, very shortly. Second place man Milo is out of the pit. Oh! Jamie Tarquin announces himself onto the front row with a 1 minute 27.5. And that is what you call under the radar. Or what would have been under the radar had I just not forgotten to look at his lap and been a complete spat. Anyone else on lap times? Vulcan's on a lap, as is J-Lane. Vulcan, the first one up the road in the Alfa Romeo car. Not cutting the curbs too much. That's exactly what he needs to do. Keep it in the track limits. A little bit of a slide out of that corner, but it's 2 tenths up. And that would put him just ahead of Big Swimmer. And that would throw the cat amongst that metaphorical pigeon. Down towards the final hairpin. Anchors, they are slammed. All hands on deck, nearly abandoned ship as he heads into Barrier, but the Kick Sauber Alfa Romeo car crosses the line, and it's a marginal improvement, 69 thousandths. Nice. A Ferrari of Terziak and a Haas car of Maximus first across the line will be the first of the outlappers to go. The final onslaught of qualifying can begin then, and Magico will be one of the first across the line very, very shortly. Stark will manage to get round and complete his outlap in no time at all. J-Lane is on a flying lap, and oh no! He is noseless! It is the nose job from Barrier, which on Freaky Friday means something very nice, but on Moorish Monday, it's a terrible showing. Big Swimmer retires from the session. Let's go back to my husband, see how he's doing. Marginal improvements so far, but if he really attacks the hairpin corner, who knows what kind of advantage he can get. Just about pushing the limits even more than he did, break slightly after the 100. Really test your bravery. Pinch the apex. Try and get on hard throttle as early as you can. Straighten up the car. Hug the inside of both apexes. Neatly executed by the Mercedes driver. Across the line. Into the 1 minute 28, but not enough to move up. Next up to cross the line is Vulcan, but he's already done his flying laps. That is disqualifying toasted. Terziak, no idea how far up he is, but we're going to find out very soon what stipulations will come from his qualifying efforts as he hugs the inside. 1 and then 2, crossing the line, and it's not a great lap at all. It is no improvement for the Ferrari driver. Maximus currently sits on the back row, but there's a chance he has something to show on his next flying lap across the line up into P10. Very nicely done. Milo next, pole position provisionally for the Mercedes, the McLaren driver, but it is the Mercedes driver by 7 thousandths. Timalele! Marginal improvements, but Thanasi is still yet to cross the line. Stark a 10th up, crossing the line he goes, it's marginal. No positions gained. Thanasi's only improving marginally. It all comes down to this. The final 2 corners, it's the pit lane for the Red Bull driver. And Timalele takes pole position at the Miami Grand Prix by fundamentally the slimmest of margins. And what a cracking end to qualifying that is. Margins almost don't get closer. The only time they have is actually in real life. George Russell and Max Verstappen. Then George Russell claimed he could have won the race, despite practically finishing behind his teammate. If it wasn't for a banzai move on the last lap, or towards the end of the penultimate lap, should I say, he would have been toast. But I rate his confidence. Mercedes do actually seem like they're taking a big step forward, in Canada at least. If it translates to Barcelona, then who knows. But for now, Mercedes in Blackout can jump for joy. Timalele on pole position, a clear track ahead. Milo in P2, 7 thousandths in it, a cracking effort from him. So close, but it's just not enough. Thanasi, it was marginal, the improvement he was going to make. He aborted mission at the final hurdle. Has to settle for P3, but it's P3 nonetheless. It's a good effort. Jamble in P4 with a 1 minute 27.5. The flying Scotsman Terziak 7 tenths off the pace. I don't know what more you want me to add to that. Bucks Renzi in P6. J-Lane in 7th. Stark in 8th. Big Swimmer in 9th. Maximus in 10th with Vulcan, Magico Dirkleton and Pathiman completing your 14-strong grid lineup. The hydration station has been used. The blood plasma of Christ, shed for me, means that I am now ready and raring to watch Sergio Perez still DNF. There might be no second Red Bull, but Sergio Perez will still find a way to crash. I can almost guarantee it. What can we expect from this race then? Well, it's a 35%er. Realistically, it should be a one-stop. Medium, soft, soft, medium, hard tyres around here are not the play, unless there is a safety car, in which case, are you brave and do you dare to go onto the hard tyres? Maybe potentially risk having a huge pace deficit at the end, but fortune favours the brave, very much so, a lot of the time in this league racing series, and it might well be no different today. The Paddock Club goes absolutely mild. And by that, I mean there's absolutely none of them. Where are they? They're not even interested. They know Miami is a wash track. F1 would have you believe that they're revolutionising the sport with all the street circuits. But Blackout knows how to put on a show, luckily. 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go in Miami. And it's a decent start from Milo, despite being on the mediums. Timalele cuts across straight away. Thanasi round the outside on the mediums. That is a delightful move from the Red Bull driver. But he's on those mediums. Tim has got a job to do straight away. Milo's had a problem though. He's lost so much momentum. He's down to P5. A disastrous start for the McLaren man. Started on the front row. Now is, well, comparatively floundering, going wide at the left-hander as well. Deary, deary me. Well, Pathiman's moved up a spot, but it's all getting out of hand. Dirkleton's now retaken that P13. Going to be some slipstream to use. Jamie Tarquin, for a second, I thought was going to have a chomp at the Red Bull car. Here comes Pathiman, though, trying to go down the inside, sending it down the inside, not sending it down the inside. There's been a huge kerfuffle, though. Thanasi's gone miles down. J-Lane's had an issue. He's been in the wars, and it looks like a front wing end plate's missing. Yes, it is. That's a disastrous start. Oh, no, it's another honker show, and my Siri's getting involved. Shut up, mate. Vulcan's up into P7 in all of this. He just does a bit in Miami. A change for the lead possibly, though. Jamie Tarquin down the inside, and the Aston Martin driver moves into P1. The Mercedes driver will wait in the wings, but these two just have to work together. Terziak, though, on the soft tyres as well. It could get very tasty, ladies and gentlemen. One lap already completed. Maximus is into the pit lane, courtesy of the fact that he made contact with Jonathan Lane. Both he and Maximus are going to require nose jobs, and Lord Voldemort will greet them with very much of an open set of arms. I don't know if I trust Voldemort as far as I could throw him, but there you go. Onwards we go. Jamie Tarquin firmly leading proceedings. 8 tenths is the gap, and Thanasi is up into P4 once again. I can only assume Milo's made a mistake because he was practically sniffing the diffuser of Terziak, but there is nothing doing. He's now, well, he's caught in a crossfire, in a sandwich between his own teammate and the Red Bull man, 2 times a champion on F1 23. Will his fortunes stay the same when we move on to F1 24, whenever that might be? Who knows? But purple sector 2 from Jamie Tarquin, immediately ducking to the inside of the track, trying to avoid the slipstream as much as possible. With Timalele, not even burning battery, but that's just how powerful the slipstream is. Terziak just on the coattails. If he gets this last corner right, he is within DRS range, and then things can start to get spicy. As Pathiman trying to move ahead of Dirkleton. Dirkleton goes wide because he's on the hard tyres. I mean, what did I tell you? If you choose the hard tyres, you are goosed. A 1 minute 29.9 is the fastest lap of the race currently. That is mighty impressive, I must say. Through turn number 1 we go then. There's a little bit of a tasty battle sort of brewing up here. Stark at the head of this train with Big Swimmer. Magico's getting involved as well. Then Pathiman and Dirkleton. But DRS enabled up at the front means that things could get quite interesting for Timalele, where otherwise he would be stuck at 8 tenths behind in a past universe of Formula 1. Now, with this flap open wide, he can have much pride. Now the gap reduced by half a second into the Mickey Mouse section. Terziak's in this little train as well. These three have to work together. They know that the soft tyres will have the advantage at least for a little bit. Big Swimmer not choosing to go for a move on Stark, which I thought would have been entirely possible, but unfortunately, no cigar. And smoking is bad, so why would you do that? It's amazing how much you can cut that left-hander. Timalele, though, is chomping through the slipstream and chomping through that gap and chomping his way through into P1. It's academic with DRS. Jamie Tarquin thinks about going to the inside, trying to deter Timalele off the racing line, but nothing doing for the Aston Martin driver, but he could retaliate into turn number 1. There's a yellow flag, a McLaren's round. Buck 20's in the wall. A front wing off. It will not cause a safety car blissfully. Actually, not blissfully. If your name's Maximus and J-Lane, you would have been hoping for something. Luckily, he's right next to the pit lane. He can get a proper quick service straight away, mates. Just as Jamie Tarquin retook the lead of the race, the yellow flags were flying, and the McLaren team are going to be absolutely livid. What on earth are you doing, son? Money doesn't grow on trees, you know. Anyway, out of the pit lane he goes after a slight financial discussion, and back out into P14. Jamie Tarquin reholds the lead of the race. Like I say, though, these lot have got to work together, or try to. Milo and Thanasi, though, are working together as well. The dynamic is forever continuing. 1.3 seconds the gap. But the McLaren and the Red Bull driver in 4th and 5th, finding actually good grip and proper purchase on the medium tyres already, and a confidence that is a cut above those ahead of them. Now almost in DRS range. Milo, in fact, is in DRS range. Whether he actually got it, I do not know, but he won't get it. Pulls to the inside. Thanasi will take the inside line. But surely now they've put themselves into this little battle. And now, ladies and gentlemen, that is right. We have a 5-car battle for the lead of the Miami Grand Prix. Ask and you shall receive. Big Sam and Stark, the battling continues. Diving down the inside goes Venus. Serena wouldn't dive. She never would dive. She complains. Oh no! Big Sam in the wall! Spins out! Might have been contact on the right rear of Stark. I have no idea. That was a huge snap into that inside wall. It's another car that falls foul to barrier. And it's Big Swimmer. I am absolutely devastated. My goat right there. Unbelievable. And all of that, though, it means Magico's up to 8th, ladies and gentlemen. My husband is cooking. Look at him go. Mercedes are 2nd and 8th in this race. And in a race where it seems like a lot of the competitors might be floundering in terms of constructors' points, Tim Alele not choosing to overtake Jamie Tarquin on this straight, at least. Going to wait until after the Michael Rat section to try and dispatch of the Aston Martin assassin. Like I was saying, though, on a race weekend here where either there is only a team running one car, like Red Bull, or a team with 2 cars, but one of them's having a bit of a shocker so far, like McLaren, there's every chance you can take full advantage of this. There is all to play for this week. Tim's dropped back actually quite a lot. Jamie Tarquin's got that section hooked up very nicely indeed. Although, we're going to go straight over to some details, and we're going to go to penalties, because that is going to get very spicy. Track limits, I have no doubt, will also play a factor in who wins this race. Magico is trying to pass Stark. Down the inside he goes. A little bit of argy-bargy. It means Pathyman's through as well. Unbelievable. Stark loses 2 positions in the space of a single corner, but Magico has to be careful not to be cut up by Pathyman. He makes a great dive down the inside. Magico turns in like he wasn't there. Stark is going to re-inherit 2 positions, but he makes a mistake. He cuts the corner. Pathyman loses composure. Magico's up into P7 again. What a battle that is. My voice can't hack it, but that is absolutely fantastic racing from all 3 of them. In fact, all 4 of them now, because here's Dirkleton up into P9. Whew, what racing. Jamie Tarquin defending the inside. Tim Alele again considers the move, doesn't make the move. Thanassi goes wide. Millo's going round the outside. I'm a poet. You didn't know it. Thanassi, though, holds position. And there goes my poet streak. I thought there was going to be something absolutely just the juiciest cocktail of racing. Meanwhile, in the no man's land, it's Vulcan. 7 seconds off the front 5, who are just DRS pulling each other along. But Vulcan driving a very, very respectable race indeed. Very respectable race. Comfortably holding P6 as there's the change for the lead. Tim Alele moves up into P1. Again, though, not finding the optimal grip out of that corner. He sort of understeers on the exit. Just got to get it slowed down in time. Magico with DRS once again. 2nd bite of the cherry, and that cherry tastes much sweeter this time. Up into P7. A bit of a slide on the way out for Flesh. Stark pays his compliments back with an even juicier slide along. And Dirkleton could get nice, well, it could get involved in this particular scrape. Stark fainting to the inside, trying to deter Magico off of the racing line. At this point, though, the softer tyres are falling away a little bit. Volcano on medium, so in theory should have the theoretical pace over the 3 cars behind him. Dirkleton's out. Dirkleton hits the wall on the left-hand side. You saw it briefly there on Pathyman's point of view, and that's not a safety car. Right. Well, I've seen safety cars called out for much tamer things than that. Dirkleton must have made a mistake. That's the remnants of his Aston Martin car, which we've just passed on board with Maximus there. And what was looking to be a race full of pure promise is now completely nullified as Maximus goes very, very wide indeed, further towards the Mexican City Grand Prix. And that makes the Americans very tetchy. Again, the DRS train continues, and Thanassi is not waiting around anymore. He says, my mediums are cooking. I've had enough of sitting behind the soft runners. Up into P3 he goes. And now it'll be Millo's turn to try and go on the attack. Everyone's sliding out of that final corner as Jamble Tarquin goes into the pit lane. The first of the leaders to blink in the Blackout Racing League in Miami is the Aston Martin driver. We saw how powerful an undercut was. If you haven't watched JLand3 on YouTube, watch every video. But especially Miami, he had a few laps worth of an undercut, and that gained him so much time. And as you can see, actually, well, I believe Stark's come into the pits, or has he not? He might have made a mistake in all of that. Might have been contact between him and Dirkleton. In fact, the front wing end plate might suggest it is, in fact, as we have our first time penalty of the race. Thanasi has a 3-second time penalty, I presume actually for going wide at the left-hander. Milo's going for a move on Terziak. The inside line's covered off. Milo could well get 2 positions in the space of a single straight. Timalele holds the lead of the race. Behind him, it's all systems go. McLaren, man, mauls the opposition. Up into P2 he goes and will try, I have no doubt, to take the lead of this Miami Grand Prix and try and skate on up the road. Jamie Tarquin, though, like I said, in a nice little cushion of clean air. 2.8 seconds behind Magico, and will just use that pace. He has to be absolutely on it like a car bonnet. I have just dropped my second form of changing view on this broadcast. That is not ideal. But here comes Milo, makes Timalele defend. It will surely be a switchback central. It won't be a switchback central, in fact, which I'm quite surprised at, actually. I thought it would have been. But DRS open, coming into the first corner. He goes to the inside. Timalele not fighting this one whatsoever, as down at the inside goes Mr. Milo into the lead of the Miami Grand Prix. Timalele not going down without a fight, and respect to him for that. It means Thanasi now has a great chance. The vastly superior momentum. My husband is into P5. Oh, yes. And look at that. All of that squabbling. Jamie Tarquin has gained, crikey, 3.5 seconds to Terziak on a single undercut lap. And, well, whether Terziak didn't have a great pit entry or whatever, I do not know. But Jamie Tarquin going down the inside of Magico, very opportunistic and very nicely done from the Aston Martin driver, and will actually give Mr. Magico a nice helping hand of DRS. What a good Samaritan he is. Timalele then. Very much controlling the pace through Sector 2. Re-got the move on that DRS straight, the previous one. Now will be very much under threat on this one. Aramco, the sponsor. Timalele could very much be in the Aramco if he's not careful, because here comes Milo, steaming through like a freight train, and up into the points-paying P1. It's maximum attack, maximum points, all of the maximums, and Timalele says enough is enough. I am going into the pit lane. And onto a fresh set of medium boots. He's made it just about half distance, and now can fetch himself a juicy little undercut compared to some of his competitors. Although we do have to remember, Thanasi and Milo will be running the soft tyres. Squidgy soft tyres. Jamie Tarquin into P4 then. Magico into P5. Timalele is going to actually lose out to Terziak. So the undercut's coming out to play again. Terziak through, albeit it is 1 lap older tyres. But Jamie Tarquin is feeling like he's won the lottery here in Miami. 4.5 seconds almost he finds himself ahead of Terziak. Nearly 5, in fact it is 5 seconds he finds himself ahead of Timalele. It's absolutely fantastic news. Magico will, I assume, deploy, well, will try and defend as much as he can, but resistance is futile. He's an absolute runaway train on the newer tyres, DRS open. It's a catalogue of how to do an overtake successfully and cleanly. Magico immediately ships the racing line off to his teammate, who can now go on the offensive. And by that, I mean, don't say anything bad. We don't want to get cancelled on this broadcast. The gap now to the leader is 12.7 seconds. If you ever wanted an indication of how profound newer tyres is, that's it there. And Thanasi and Milo can clearly see that, and it's time to strap on the soft tyres and go full out banzai bullet to the end of this race. On go the fresh boots out of the pit lane. Jamie Tarquin resumes the lead of the Miami Grand Prix. Vulcan moves up into P2. Terziak up into P3, albeit briefly, but it will be into P3. Can Timalele get ahead of Milo? No, he can't. He's trying to go around the outside. He will deploy absolutely everything. It will be a perfect piece of opportunism. Can he get it done? Holding the inside. Timalele, you know what? He's done it. There you go. Into P4. Lovely piece of work, however. The soft tyres will be fired up now, and DRS will be at Milo's disposal. And you can guarantee that he is going to fly past. Time is of the essence, and Milo goes through. No time like the present. But Milo can see into the future, and what he can see is his name on the top step of the podium if he gets a move on. So that is exactly what he's doing. Into P4 he goes. Now he's got to absolutely fly through this section. Take a little bit more of that second curve, the right-hander in that particular section, if you really want to. Milo well within DRS range of Vulcan, and it will surely be academic. DRS open, it's an easy move, it's easy as they come for the McLaren man. Through into P4 he goes. Timalele's not waiting around either. Through into P4 he goes. Thanasi's going to get the switch back, and Vulcan has a little slide that could have got very, very grisly indeed for the Greek man. However, it's not grisly at all. He's through into P5, and it's all systems go, and all normal service resumed. Terziak has a nice 1.8 second gap to Milo, but Milo, of course, on the soft tyres, has to just fly along the road. He has to get a move on. He can do it if he believes. He's got hardly any battery to fight with. And Terziak is driving very well at this particular stage. Through this left-hander, we should see the effects of the softs. Again, though, not nearly as much as I thought we would. Terziak chipping along nicely, just under 3 seconds. The gap between himself and Jamie Tarquin. Nothing to separate them in terms of electrical energy. There is something to separate Timalele and Thanasi, though. Soft tyres and late braking, and round the outside goes the Red Bull driver as I get the hiccups. But it's through into P4 for the Red Bull driver. Melo has only gained 2 attempts on this lap despite everything so far. Whether he's just saving the soft tyres, I mean, all power to him if he's trying it out, but I don't know if it's the way forward, to be honest with you. Only 2 drivers with time penalty so far, Maximus and Thanasi. Maximus, though, speaking of him, he's round the outside of J-Lane. These two have been having a nice little squabble all the way through, and up into P10 goes Maximus. Magico, meanwhile, has made his only pit stop and is in P7, karting along, and who's got the fastest lap? That's right, Thanasi has. I can hear audible shock from you lot. Also, audible sarcasm. Thanasi is just that quick. 1 minute 29.4, and so the circus continues on. Lap number 13 out of 20. Milo almost in DRS range of Terziak. Almost inevitable. Like I said, he gets a move on. He can do it. Can Magico get ahead of Vulcan out of the pit exit? No, he cannot. Vulcan retains words. P6, but not for long. A nice little sweeper round the outside from my husband. And that is why we are always eternally betrothed. Because he can pull fancy moves on men like that. You bastard. Joking, love you, Magico. Here we go. The battle for P6, though, it rages on just as quickly as Magico did the sweeper. Vulcan is going to sweep back past again. DRS open. Speaking of sweeping back past, Milo is sweeping past Terziak. Through he goes. 2.1 seconds, the gap up ahead. And Terziak actually is in a decent position here. He's had great pace, despite being on older mediums. He has had great pace, and so $1.20's got a 3-second time penalty. Trying to make up for lost time with that front wing as well, but, well, there's only so much time you can do as Milo gets that fastest lap, almost breaching the 1 minute 28 barrier with that lap. That was very tasty, as J-Lane has left the session. Big Swimmer, therefore, moves up into P11. And he can try and begin and continue his conquest into pursuing Mr. Maximus. Meanwhile, a juicy battle is brewing for P6. Vulcan versus Magico versus Pathiman, who is just hanging on to the coattails of this DRS duel, which has now turned into thrice. Milo nearly in DRS range of Jamie Tarquin already. Thanasi making moves on Terziak already. Down the inside, brave on the brakes. Through he goes, Terziak choosing not to fight it, and I do not blame him. Because, of course, Thanasi does have that time penalty. So So in fact, if he can keep up with the soft runners, the more advantage he will actually have. Because he will just be able to stay within that 3-second time barrier, and then could still get a podium out of this. There's all to play for still in this race. As J-Lane rejoins the session, welcome back, mate. And so the battle for the lead can begin. Through the final corner. And it's a 5-car train once again. Will it last? Because there are two very, very hungry soft runners. One of which is Milo, who was finished basically plumb last season. He's turned that upside down completely. Down the inside he goes. The move not done yet. Jamie holding it round the outside, trying everything he can. But it's not enough. He's shipped not only P1, but his eagerness, the overzealousness to try and hold on to top honours has cost him tremendously. Down into P3 goes the Aston Martin driver. Up into P1 goes the McLaren driver. And Milo, it really is a change of fortunes from last season. And that will bring a big smile to all McLaren fans everywhere. Although he has got a very, very hungry Red Bull behind him. Timalele, though, gets past Terziak. Into P4 he goes. On the freshest mediums that there are on this grid. Still all to play for with him as well. Who knows what could happen? That is the beauty of the Blackout Racing League. It's going down. I'm yelling, Timbo! He's into P3. Through he goes. Oh no, Jamie Tarquin's timing back down the inside. He's not nearly done with that particular squabble. I thought, oh dear. Pincering across Timalele, and well, it's caused contact. And they're going to still be side by side down this straight. Jamie Tarquin could try a dastardly dive down the inside, but it's not worth it. It is not worth it at all. They need to kind of work together here, and in fact it's going to cost them even more dearly because they are outside of DRS range of the soft runners up ahead. And their best chance, or Thanasi's best chance of retaining a podium position, is to stay in DRS range of Milo. But Milo is driving extremely well. It's a very nice exit run out of that corner. Up to 9/10 the gap goes. Timalele almost in DRS range of the soft runners up ahead. It's just a waiting game now for these guys. The softs will fall off quite quickly. Then they will equalise in pace, and then that inevitable crossover as Jamie Tarquin takes over P3. Timalele almost honks his diffuser for good measure. That was very, very tasty indeed. I've no idea what happened there. And they've lost so much time to the cars ahead. 2.3 seconds the gap. What are you doing? Deary me. But anyway, Timalele will have DRS once again. To breeze back past. And it is academic, but let's see something that could get a little bit more tasty. My husband versus the Frenchman. Pathiman saying, oui, monsieur, I am coming through. Magico says, non, monsieur, non. No pass. But Pathiman will try and use DRS. He's 8 attempts back, though, so it's not exactly like he's got a completely clear-cut opportunity. But he does have significantly more battery. So perhaps biding his time. They've got a 9-second gap to buck 20 behind, so really, it should not be going off the boil here. Lap number 17, only a handful of laps to go at the Miami Grand Prix. Milo is your leader by 3/10 of a second to Thanasi, but he has a 3-second time penalty. Currently, though, well out of range of Timalele on the mediums, with Jamie Tarquin and Terziak completing a 3-car DRS train behind them. Vulcan in his own no man's land in P6, which, even though it is a no man's land, he will 100% take that because he's in P6. And after the Miami Grand Prix last season was so successful and lucrative for him, he would be very happy with much the same. Magico and Pathiman are having a little squabble for P7. Buck 20 in his own no man's land in P9. P10 is Maximus with Big Swimmer Stark and J-Lane completing out your running order. On to lap 18 then. 3 tours of the Miami circuit to go. Thanasi, well, could make a move on Milo at any time, but is he doing his race any favours if he does? Probably assessing the situation and thinking, there's no way I can try and get a 3-second gap. But in fairness, I got a 5-second gap at the Netherlands race last season. And even then, I still did not stop fighting for P1. In fact, I made sure I won the battle on the track. Which was futile anyway, because I still lost. But that's not the point. Mindset! Nah, I'm kidding. It was just fun to race Thanasi, I'll be honest. Speaking of Thanasi racing, gap now 4 temps. Now 3 temps. Now 2 temps. Now 1 tenth. Now 0 temps. Now minus 1 tenth. He's down the inside and through into P1 he goes. There you go. I'll completely retract my statement. Thanasi will try and win this on the track. And, well, if he cooks up in these next 2¼ laps, it could be one of the greatest endings to a Blackout race stint I've ever seen in my life. But that last corner out of the Michael Mouse section, I was going to say, was not great. So Milo is going to take that invitation and run with it. On board with Thanasi. Oh, there's McLaren. Hello. There we go. Down the inside. Thanasi does brake later, but resistance is pointless. Milo through into the lead once again. And the 3 behind them on their mediums, well, we'll be thinking, when the hell is this crossover point? Where's my pace upturn? Where's their pace deficit? It's not fair, mate. Well, life's not fair. And especially Blackout. Terziak made a bit of a mistake there, actually. He's just outside of a second, although quickly regaining it back. So all is fine. I can't see too much happening other than Big Swimmer going on an attack. There is a sizable battle going on, and it is the Big Swimmer who's going to go down the inside. Xbox boys rejoice, because into P10 goes Big Swimmer through on the inside of the Haas car of Maximus and the AlphaTauri driver. Well, there is at least some comeuppance, despite hitting the wall earlier on in the race. As Stark goes into the pits, and this could well be a fastest lap run, so long as he gets out ahead of Milo, because if he doesn't do that and he ends up behind, that is going to be extremely embarrassing. It's not embarrassing, he's going to easily get out ahead. The battle for P3 is probably the main one to watch. He'll probably try and go for it on the track anyway. I don't blame him. Racer's instinct. But as for the Rice crew behind, it's going to, well, does Jamie Tarquin save some battery? The answer is not really. Both, all 3 of them on equal battery, and it's about who is the craftiest driver in this crusade for the final podium position as we head on to the final lap of the Miami Grand Prix. Up at the front, I mean, Milo's driven a masterclass, I'll be quite frank with you. Started on the front row, start of the race wasn't great, but since then has not made a single error of judgment, a single error when turning the wheel. And Pathiman, no! He's going down the inside. Husband, stand tall! Don't let this man through. Yes, he's made a mistake. He's sliding about on the exit like a slippery squirrel. And now with DRS open, my husband is going to stream down the inside of another man. That's weird, but he's through into P7 once again, surely. Unless Pathiman, oh, he's held it around the outside. Well, credit where credit is due. Great stuff from Pathiman. Terziak's not waiting around. Down the inside of Jamie Tarquin he goes. He wants this podium. He's going to go for it every step of the way. Jamie Tarquin holds the inside line. Who blinks first? At the stadium section, it has to be Jamie Tarquin. Terziak just has to get a decent run out of this final section and then dump every single piece of battery. A huge amount of wheel spin, but deploying every single ounce of electricity. And DRS is now open, but the gap's too big. Out of the final corner, though, in Miami, Lando landed. Milo, though, has driven masterfully across the line to win the Miami Grand Prix. It will be Thanasi second. Tim Alele takes 3rd place in the end. Terziak 4th, Jamie Tarquin in 5th, and now we wait. It's a very, very solid drive from Vulcan. A immensely solid drive. There's a battle behind that's not yet settled. Magico weaving, trying to break the slipstream. Pathiman says, I'm coming through into P7 on the final straight. Can he get it stopped in time? It could be a run to the line. Sliding out of the final corner. Magico slides as well, though. Pathiman claims P7. Magico, a valiant effort, and I respect it. In P8, good job, sir. And that is very much a payback for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Buck 20 will claim 9th. Big Sam will claim 10th. Maximus will come across the line next to get 11th place. J-Lane in 12th. And now we wait and see what lap time Stark can set. Will it be the fastest lap? Out of the final corner he goes. It's 26, 27, and 28. Across the line he goes. And he does get a purple lap time. I think just by the skin of his teeth. There was definitely some purple in there. There was nothing in it. Well, we're going to have to find out. Otherwise, Milo has just done an absolute madness. He's got 33 points. Driver of the day, according to the game, is Pathiman. I have to say Milo is my driver of the day. It's 2 wins on the bounce for the McLaren driver. Thanasi and Timalele on the podium, though. It's just inevitable, really, isn't it? But sticking true to the script of the real world, McLaren win in Miami. They spray the 7-up free to mark the sign of superiority. And that is race 1 of the evening done. Goodness gracious me, and that could well put Milo joint on points. Oh, Stark did get fastest lap. Never mind, Thanasi still has the lead of the championship. At least for now. A 1 minute, he did get a 1 minute 28. I thought it said a 1 minute 29.033. I was wrong. A 1 minute 28.979. Stark will claim 3 extra points for fastest lap, which means his 2 points. Actually, no, scrap that. That's completely my fault. His 3 points turn into 6. So he's effectively scored the same as Big Swimmer. But your order for today. Milo, a masterclass of a drive. Finishes P1. Thanasi in P2. Timalele completes the podium. Terziak 4th. Jamie Tarquin in 5th. Vulcan, Pathiman, Magico, my husband, Buck 20 and Big Sam complete a top 10 with Maximus, J-Lane and Stark finishing the race. Dirkle to the only retirement. And I am still absolutely shocked that that wasn't a safety car. I really am. I genuinely thought that was going to be a safety car. I have no idea how it wasn't. That is unbelievable. Anywho, that is race 1 done. Miami is done and dusted, and that can only mean one thing. Next up, we head over to the land of the Upside Down, where all the blood is going to rush to the heads of the drivers. And, well, it could get very interesting indeed. What a start to the week, though. It is. Milo claims the first win of this Monday series. And what a drive. What a drive. Drove extremely well all the way through. Thanasi, without that time penalty, could have been very interesting. Who has just joined me? The answer is J-Lane's joined me. Hello.
Travesty, Karl.
Travis. I wasn't going to say anything.
By Mr. Alex, and it's a travesty.
Yes, well, quite. But to be honest, you're not the... To be honest, there was a lot... Big Sam hit the wall. Alex hit the wall. Dirkleton hit the wall very hard. Yeah, I mean, Miami just does that. Milo found that out last season.
Fortunate to make it through without a safety car. I think that's a bit of a first for Miami.
Well, the thing is, right, where Dirt crashed, I was like, 100% that's a safety car, and then there was nothing. I was like, okay, all right.
Well, the marshals are very efficient, and where there was no other cars coming,
they just
that obviously allowed them to... Yeah, exactly. Lift it over the fence and just carry on.
What absolute legends. Right, well, Jay, firstly, commiserations for your race. Your teammate finished in P6, though, so it's not all bad for the Alfa Romeo team, which is a good thing.
I think I've been out-qualified 3-0 so far. No, not out-qualified, out-race performed 3-0. I've out-qualified him every race, but he's out-raced me.
Well, listen, we can change that statistic next up in Australia, so it's okay. What I mean, just I don't know. Talk me through what happened. What on earth happened with the incident and whatnot?
We're coming down the middle straight on the track, heading into the heavy braking, and you just end up with two cars coming into one. I felt that Buck 20 went a little bit off and just rejoined quite aggressively in a straight line rather than just appreciating we're going into the next right-hander. But it was the lightest of contact. As a result, my car ends up spinning. Wing gets damaged into the wall. Then a hatch drives into the side of me, and
Maximus,
you get pushed. You get pushed along the wall for a good 100 seconds, and then you're like, right, reset, slap the hards on, and try your best to kind of come back. But it's not easy.
No, well, I mean, look, Barrier doesn't get enough love sometimes. He needs some scrapage from time to time. Bless him.
He does need a good paint job, yeah.
Exactly. Nothing like a lick of paint on Barrier. And then after that, I mean, potentially some decent battling with Maximus going on towards the back of the field, but I mean,
getting the hard switched on was like next
tricky.
to impossible. They just didn't want to heat up. He was complaining that his tires were too hot. I was sat there looking at mine. Mine were on 86 degrees. They just weren't getting hot enough. So we sat there coming out that S section. He was pulling 4/10 to me every lap. So it was a struggle burning absolutely everything to kind of stay with. And then obviously Big Sam turns up on the scene. Was not expecting that, and he's pushing me on 8 laps newer hards, and it was just, what can we do? So we walk away with P12 in the end, you know, not the worst, not the best.
No, yes, quite exactly. It's still points on the board. That's what we've got to tell ourselves. I think.
Yeah, points for the team. It's
exactly.
Important.
I think it's kind of the story of F123 as well. I think we're moving to F124 next race or the week after. I can't remember, but that's kind of been the story of F123. Yeah, that's it. Next 2 weeks. But I think that's been the story of F123, really, isn't it? Is that just newer tyres just have such a profound advantage, almost too much of an advantage in some cases, because even 3 laps it can just be an astronomical advantage, but 8 laps it's curtains.
Well, if you go back and record the ending of the race, we managed to get into the McLaren's comms, got on board with Milo. And
nice.
I'm sat there just guiding him through his throttle application, just saying, make sure it's nice and soft for the final corner. His throttle input was so heavy, so sketchy, so scared. But he managed to pull it through. So I think that's a back-to-back for Milo.
It is a back-to-back. It is. At street circuits as well. Somehow did the job in Saudi Arabia, which, I mean, if anyone wins, it's somehow at Saudi Arabia. But, well, it's Australia next. I think, as we remember from last season, I had the greatest race start in history of Blackout. But I mean, what is there?
No one remembers that anymore, Carl.
Oh, I clearly didn't jump it enough then. But I mean, what are your feelings about Australia as a track? What do you think you can bring to the table as we head down under?
I feel like we're definitely going to be entering a track with high chances of safety car again. It's almost a 100% guarantee on this track, especially where we're going to be going for the longer race distance. Fatigue is going to set in. Again, qualifying, we're hoping is going to be pretty strong. Both myself and Vulcan, we should be aiming for 5th and 6th, around that kind of placement, just based on some of the data we've been working with. If we can hold that and kind of then get onto the mediums for the start, we should be in a good position for when there is an inevitable safety car. If it's too early, get onto the hards. If it's too late, get onto the softs and kind of react that way. But unfortunately, I don't think there's any other strategy we can kind of take forward other than just planning that there will be some sort of incident.
That's probably a good plan based on experience. I'm not going to lie. Well, listen, go well. Miami is but a temporary fork in the road. There will be good fortunes down under, because we are literally flipping everything on its head, both in the literal sense and a metaphorical sense. So, go well, and don't jump the start.
Yeah, I'm being called to the grid now to get ready for quali, so thank you, Carl.
Excellent. And, thank you for joining me, Jay Lane. Hopefully, if you do join me after Australia, it will be a much more positive outcome.
Podium or death.
Let him cook. No, let him cook. Brilliant. Nice one. Take care, man. Good luck. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was an impromptu interview, but I quite like that. I want to do more of that. Let's see what anyone else said in terms of the Twitch chat. The answer is Magico said, "You're gonna get anyone for an interview?" The answer is J-Lane cooked up for me. What a guy! But I did it. We did an interview. It's fantastic. Terziak says Miami is such a spooky track. It can be a spooky track. Spookily terrible. No, I'm kidding. It's all right in the game. But crucial moves from Terziak. P4 on the last lap. Got it done on that back straight. Probably where not a lot of other drivers would have been burning a huge amount of energy. But it meant he got the overtake done. And that, at the end of the day, is what made the difference. We have 14 people back on the grid. It's still a 35% race. I don't know if anyone wants to tell him that. Although if they want to do another 35% race, then fair enough. Carry on as you were. But Milo with 2 wins on the bounce. Can he make it a hat trick of victories in the Blackout Racing League tonight? Saudi Arabia, Miami, and Australia. That is the question. And you best believe we'll have the answers very, very soon indeed. Although there are many, many hungry snappers waiting in the wings. Jamie Tarquin's just made a very, very questionable noise on the audio inside the game. I never want to hear him do that ever again. Milo is atting Jamie Tarquin. Where you at, bro? Stop floundering. We've got a race to do in Aussie land. Lads, it's still listed as a 20. It's still listed as a 35% race. Who's going to tell him? Who is going to tell him? Although maybe it's both. It probably is both a 35% race, to be honest. Even though on the calendar it said 50%, but you know, I'm just a stickler for the format, aren't I? With a swig of H2O, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to return to the Blackout Racing League on F1 23. 2 seconds until we go into qualifying, and the race distance apparently has not changed on my screen, which means it will only be 20 laps of Australia, which means a slightly shortened Blackout Racing for tonight, and that makes me quite sad, actually. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Nah, it's alright. You can't have too much of a good thing, ladies and gentlemen. You just cannot. I will also try and find my jump start after this, if possible. I think I have a couple of saved replays from other drivers' perspectives on here that can properly show you. I am not loading in. Oh, I am loading in. I was going to say, I'm not ending up in a Monaco situation where I'm driving again. No, thank you. Although that was quite funny. It wasn't funny when I actually went on the wheel, though, guys, though, was it? Right, so, Blackout, I'm such a numpty. I'm so sorry. But it's time for qualifying at the Australian Grand Prix. The new track configuration came about in 2022. That was the first time they got to actually properly use it. Could have used it in 2021. However, COVID was a thing. It still is a thing, but it's been neutered significantly now. Except for the anti-vaxxers on Instagram, who will make you believe that doing steroids is actually more beneficial than an actual vaccine. Well, well, who knows, actually, to be honest with you. Michael O'Tren would have you believe that, yes, in fact, it does actually cook up more. Anyway, speaking of cooking, it's Dirkleton. Where did he cook last race? Into the wall. And that's not great, so he'll be looking to do anything but DNF at this Australian Grand Prix. Behind him, it's the swimmiest man in the history of swimming. It's Big Swimmer. Sporting Cristiano Ronaldo's number. So... Meanwhile, behind him, it's Mr. Stark in the Williams car. We have a McLaren out on the track, and it's Milo. Last race's race winner, looking for some early reconnaissance on the Australian Grand Prix track. Which, given that now provisionally, according to my screen at least, it's a 35% race, you might as well burn up the softs because you only need one set in the race. Or maybe 2. I'd say still use them sparingly so you have sets left in case there are safety cars. Just so you can make the most of any strategy. But that's just me. Fast-flowing track, Miami in comparison, quite clunky. So we'll have to wait and see what these drivers can conjure up. What secret potions can they concoct in order to extract the finest pace from their cars. Coming through the final corner, that wasn't quite a Fernando Alonso helmet, but it's relatively close despite everything. And across the line goes Dirkleton. And on board for the first lap of the Australian Grand Prix track we go. If anything, trying to avoid that first curve, and he's already invalidated. For God's sake, onto Big Swimmer then. Hasn't invalidated, and life is good. Through into turn number 3, Drake, just at the black box on the left-hand side. Try and pinch it into the apex. You want to flow through these corners, carry the speed, use all of the track on the outside, and then try not to hit that curve and not invalidate. Oh dear. Right, Stark's next up the track. He's in... For God's sake, people. Milo, right, your last race is race winner. You can't possibly screw it up through this corner using all of the track. That is absolute. That is esports level of racing lines. Esports level of pace in Blackout. Well, we'll have to find out as it's a purple sector 1. That is a very easy. The next corner after that first sector split is probably the easiest part of the track to invalidate. Just in terms of you want to carry as much speed as possible. And then you thrust yourself down this back straight. And Big Swimmer is staying well out of the way of cars, as is Stark, because Milo is going to fly through this chicane. Purple sector 2, courtesy of the fact that he's the only one that's made it through. Big Sam, though, not waiting around for Milo, as through the right-hander he goes. He better get out of the way now, though. He's gone into the gravel, and I swear that was off the track from Milo, but the game disagrees, so that's fine. Getting right up on top of that curb on the right, which isn't a great idea, sort of unsettles the car, but either way, keeps the momentum going through, and this lap is a flavour that packs a punch. Yellow flags behind him, but it's just purple, purple, purple for Milo. 1 minute 18.0. And that marks the first tour of the Australian Grand Prix track completed successfully. Magico will be next though. Across the line he goes, and it's a 1 minute 21.4. Next across the line is Pathiman. In fact, there he is. He's done a lap, and he's a 1 minute 18.7. Very tasty. And those are your top 3 for the race, because they're only ones that can clearly stay in the track limits. Thanks for watching. Jamble Tarquin's just started a flying up, and that is mighty through that first corner. Open up the DRS flap and hurtle down towards the black box on the left-hand side. Brake as late as you dare. You want to stamp on the anchors. Trail brake the car in. Hope for the best. Little bit of a slide through the left-hander. You cannot deny that this man isn't using every single ounce of pace in the reserves and in the pocket. A purple sector 1 to back up that point. As now he hugs the inside. You want the line of least resistance and narrowest attack, just so you minimise the distance and therefore minimise the time lost. DRS flap wide open, not hugging the inside of the left. That is a very interesting decision, but through the right-hander he goes, and it's invalidated. All of the hard work is undone, and Milo has egg on, not Milo, Tarkle has egg on his face. Milo has got the crown heavy on his head. It must be hard being good at driving. I wouldn't know. Stark is up into P2, meanwhile. That's a great little lap. What's Vulcan saying? He's invalidated yet again, and he's trying for third time lucky. Through the first corner he goes, and, well, J-Lane's prediction of 5th and 6th for Alfa Romeo is kind of going down the toilet, although he might well be able to thrust himself into contention, as up he goes into P5, and there's not much between him and P2, only 3 tenths separating those positions. Milo in a class of his own currently. Big Sam helping Australia ring out with the symphony of V6 noise. The V6 engine conjured up by a very, very old composer. Hans Zimmer frame. Through the final corner goes Big Sam. DRS open across the line, and it is the start of a flying lap. Here he goes through the first corner, then Terziak's just come out of the pit lane and onto the grass for a spot of lawn mowing. But it means that Big Sam gets a decent run through the first 2 corners. Stark will be peeling into the pits. Vulcan will not be peeling into the pits because he is actually going to settle lap time. Through the penultimate corner he goes, using all of the track and sweeping through the final corner. I personally suggest keeping it in fourth, however I doubt he can hear me, and I doubt he'd listen to me anyway. Across the line he goes, and he's not far off his teammate, despite doing effectively 3 push laps in this qualifying session so far. He is right on the coattails of a good position. And the 5th and 6th prediction is coming through. Meanwhile, what is Dirkleton saying? Through the final corner he goes. He did use 4th gear. Dirkleton is listening in, and that is great news. Across the line, P5 for Dirkleton. Very nicely done. Just say Magico's done a much more competitive time. 1 minute 18.808. Probably finds himself in P4. That is very, very nice indeed. Miller on a second outlap of this session. Buck 20 on his first outlap of the session. Across the line, though, goes Big Swimmer. I just missed him. He's up to P6, though. Lovely little lap. 1 minute 18.8. 4 drivers are in it, and if they go just half a tenth faster, Pathiman's next up the road. And he's on for another outlap as well. The times will come a-tumbling thick and fast as Terziak crosses the line to begin his first flying lap of qualifying. Doesn't just how he takes it. Goes over the curves. The car not unsettling itself, unbelievably. Maybe it's my Xbox. I blame the Xbox for the fact I can't take that curb. Entering now into that next corner, pinching it in nicely, sweeping through there. That is wonderful momentum. He's carried through. Then he pinched the car. It sticks wonderfully. And now it's this right-hander where it can go all wrong. You don't just leave a little bit on the table. A purple sector 1 from the Ferrari driver. And now, once again, line of least resistance. DRS open. You want to hug the inside of that left as much as you can. Again, minimise the distance. There's Aston Martin waiting in the wings. And full throttle, this corner is really great. And despite a little bit of a correction, that was neatly done from Mr. Terziak. Braking at the 50-metre board, you won't. Oh, yes, he will. That was absolutely lovely confidence and keeps the momentum for good measure. Darting the car in. 3 corners to go. That was so close to an invalidation, but he's just kept it in the confines through the penultimate and then last corner for a lap right on a knife edge from the Flying Scotsman across the line. Surely it is. Oh, it is by half a second. Take a bow, son. That was right on the limit from the Ferrari driver. That was absolutely masterful. The third to last corner in particular. Good grief. What a showing there. And Pathiman's now into the 1 minute 17s as well. 1 minute 17.8. J-Lane crosses the line to begin his next flying lap of the session. Buck 20 on his way to complete his first flying lap of the session. Buck 20, a man of many things, one of which is downforce. He actually runs. You can't see it on the screen because it's hacking, but we've had to mask it. He runs with a baby elephant on the front and back of his car. And that means he has enough downforce to garner himself P4 in this session. 1 minute 18.3. But there are many times still to come a-tumbling down. Thanassi's a 1 minute 39.3. He's finished. Like 12 seconds off. Not even, that's 22 actually. That's even worse. 22 seconds off the pace is bad. However, you can probably tell it wasn't a complete push lap. So through now he goes into the left-hander. How much of the track? About the same as Terziak. Be interesting to see how these two will stack up in this qualifying session. Terziak last season won the Blackout Australian race. Thanassi keeping it within track limits and a purple sector 1 for good measure. I don't know what the pole time was last season. It was me. I think it was a 1 minute 16 point something. Either way, hugging the inside. And a purple sector 2. Flipping it in over the curb. That is definitely invalidated. And that is definitely a gravel trap. That is definitely almost a wall. And that almost escalated beyond belief. But you can't fault him for trying. That's all I will say. There's 2 types of people in this world. Those that cut the curbs and those that don't. Those of us that do cut the curbs can, well, come up with some extremely extravagant and excellent lap times. at the cost of potentially being slapped by the stewards for invalidating the track limits. Those who play it safe will complete a lap, but is it any fun? J-Lane's up to P5, good grief. Well done, mate. That is a very nice little lap from Mr. J-Lane. I don't know if Jamie Tarquin's finished a lap or whether he's just finishing a lap. Either way, J-Lane's done a nice little improvement. Jamie Tarquin peels into the pit lane. Stark will not peel into the pit lane. In fact, he'll do another hot lap because he's invalidated it. Still 6 minutes to go, and the current pole sitter is Tim Alele. The current pole sitter is Tim Alele. He's just gone 2.5 almost temps quicker than Terziak. And I completely forgot to watch that. I'm so sorry. Either way, 88, there's 4 donuts on the front of his car, but he's certainly not a part of that particular group, as he heads firmly to the top step of the leaderboard. And now it gets tasty. Thanasi does stay out for another flying lap. Might well just be a benchmark. It's a purple sector too, either way, though. Will he cut the curve this time? Oh, yes, he will. He's not scared of that turn. Good man. Oh, good grief. That was almost a plane crash between him and Buck 20. My word. But still has the composure. And, oh, no, it's a gearbox problem. Oh, no, just as he was looking like he was able to set pole position, he's stuck in 3rd gear. And, oh no, he's managed to get down to 2nd, but it's a disaster. You need more than 3 gears to make progress in the Blackout Racing League. And the issue is exacerbated by the fact he now enters the pit lane, and the pit crew can only look on in wonder and bemusement. Here's Stark on a lap, someone that is actually doing a flying lap, as is Dirkleton and Big Samuel. 3 cars currently starting flying laps. As well, Dirkleton's just gone up into P5. That is a great little lap time there. 18.379, 12 thousandths separates him and Buck 20. Crucially for him, though, he is at the head of that particular queue. Meanwhile, an Alfa Romeo is exiting the pit lane. It's not Vulcan. It is not Vulcan. It's J-Lane, in fact, exiting the pit lane. Meanwhile, where's Stark? He's invalidated. Magico is on an out lap. We have not Jamble Tarquin starting a flying lap. He's just getting a feel for the conditions. Big Sam is on a flying lap, though. Through the chicane, and that's not invalidated. Nice game. He slows down straight away, though, knowing the time loss is just too much to bear. And really, in Australia, he is too hot to handle. Sorry, I mean, it is too hot to... Oh, no. This episode of Karl Fumbles the Bag. Big slide out of that corner there from Jamie Tarquin. It's not from Jamie Tarquin, it's Dirkleton. But I'll tell you what, for flair, you get pole position, my friend. That probably doesn't mean much. And he's already invalidated, and as a result, my computer's not happy with that. And I'm thankful it has suggested that to be the case, because that is not very nice to look at. J-Lane, are you valid? Yes, you are. J-Lane is always valid. What am I talking about? What a legend J-Lane is. And he's keeping the battery high, actually. He's not invalidated, but perhaps just wants to have a little reset, keep getting a feel for the conditions. One man who isn't trying to take such risks is Milo. Feels like the advantage is going balls to the wall right now. And with testicles made of tungsten, he is going to try and trounce the opposition. That was very, very close to going straight into the wall. But this Spearfish carries on its merry way. It's not a purple sector 1. But for save of the year, I will give him 1,000 points. Not taking any risks now. Well, not providing any safety. He's taking all the risks, in fact. That's the whole point. Purple sector 2, if only briefly, now cutting the curb. It's a good chicane from the McLaren driver. And so he carries on through towards the final sector. Let's get up, not that. Let's get up a nice little, I want a lap data. Yes, thank you. Right. Through the 3rd to last corner. Keeps it within track limits. Yes, he does. And with some room to spare. Penultimate corner. Breezes through it. Nice momentum through the final corner. Milo sweeping through and through and on and on and on to P2 in this qualifying session. Tim Alele still stands head and shoulders above the competition. But there are so many people who are looking to take that crown away. J-Lane is one of them. Through the right-hander he goes. He's got a purple sector 1. Lads, he's got a... This is not a drill. However, there's loads of people on lap times here. Maximus is one of them. He's not, actually. He's invalidated his lap time. But will have a chance to go again. Magico's completing a lap, I'm pretty sure. Across the line, he's going to go. And it will be a 1 minute 18.8. However, he can go again, should he choose to do so. He's not going to choose to do so. He's going to get well out of the way, and that is the lone Red Bull of Thanasi. Currently 22 whole seconds off the pace. Trying to look for any consolation effort in this qualifying session. As Buck 20 crosses the line, Dirkleton crosses the line to start their final flying laps. J-Lane crosses the line, and it's it's such a marginal improvement. It's 1,000th off Buck 20. Agonisingly close, but it is not enough. Current pole sitter Timalele crossing the line. Big Sam crossing the line to start lap times. It is all happening. Terziak is going to be the last one with a clear track ahead of him. Jamie Tarquin, in fact, will be the last one with a clear track ahead of him. The McLaren of Milo pulls into the pits. That's his session done. Stark will, in fact, be the last one to cross the line and have a proper lap time. Vulcan crossing the line to get P10. Very nicely done. Good improvement. Half a second. Thanasi, though, what's he conjuring up? He's 7 whole seconds ahead of his lap. Whoa! Max Verstappen, sit down, mate, because Thanasi is the double world champion on this game on F1 23. He crosses the line, and he blazes it onto pole position by just under 1/10 of a second. But there's still plenty of times to tumble. Pathyman crosses the line, can't improve. Maximus into P10 he goes. Next is Buck 20. 2 temps up. Can he break into the 117s? No, he can't. It's P6. As Stark's disqualified for going the wrong way. Oh, no. Timalele through the final corner. He's marginally up on his time. It has to be the 3rd sector from Heaven. And Helen Highwater. He's on pole position. Timalele takes pole, but Terziak's still on a lap. He goes 3rd. It's so close between himself and Thanasi. And if you have a T at the beginning of your name, it is inevitable. It is absolutely inevitable. You just cannot escape them. Timalele on pole position by 1.3 temps almost. Thanasi P2, Terziak P3, Milo P4, skill issue, Pathyman P5. Those were only 5 to get into the 1 minute 17 times. But what an end to qualifying once again. And that's 2 on the bounce for Timalele in a qualifying session. But Saturday only means so much. On Sunday, points mean prizes. And he's going to have to hope he gets higher than 3rd in order to make the most and revitalise himself this week. But the German has done step 1 of the job very well. P1 in Australia on the grid. Thanasi P2, Terziak 3rd, Milo 4th, Pathyman, the Frenchman, in 5th. Well done him. Buck 26th, Big Sam 7th, Dirkleton 8th, J-Lane 9th, Jamie Tarkleton in 10th. With Maximus, Vulcan, Mr. Magico, my husband, and Stark was disqualified for twisting the steward's knobs wrong. Probably. We'll never know the true reasoning. The stewards on this game do have a mind of their own. But soon, it will be night time. We have to sleep through and wait for Sunday. Good night. Good grief, it's that time already. It's morning. I knew time worked differently on the other side of the world. God created the earth flat, and his sense of time is flat as well. The earth is not flat, you monkfishes. Welcome to the Australian Grand Prix. Timalele is your pole sitter once again. But can he convert it into a race win? Can he take a win this season? Or Will it be Mr. Milo to make it a hat-trick of wins? Or will Thanasi claim his second win of the season? Or will there be even more of a shock surprise down under? That's the question, and we'll find out the answer very, very shortly. If it is a 35% race, as I thought it would be, it should just still be a one-stop as before. All will be revealed soon. 5 red lights in Australia. Lights out and away we go after almost an eternity. It's a good start from Timalele. Covers the inside. Thanasi has a great second phase. Milo down the inside of Terziak. Softs versus mediums. It's Terziak going for the contra strat this time. And it's going to cost him in the early phases. As J-Lane again, no, at the start. Alfa Romeo in the wars again. You are kidding me. J-Lane without half a front wing, and it's not going his way at all this week. That is absolutely horrible to see. Buck 20's looking a bit racy though. Pathiman on the mediums, Buck 20 on the softs. And try as he might, the French man in the white car conveniently will have to wave the white flag of surrender. Although it's Dirkleton and Big Sam going head to head. Dirk defends or attacks, I genuinely don't know anymore, but he's in P7 nonetheless. It's Buck 20 with a great exit out of the chicane. Squeezed as much as possible, but it will be down the inside for the McLaren driver, and through into P6 he goes. Dirkleton capitalises brilliantly, trying to go down the inside. Pathiman attempts to hold it, but it's not enough. Jamie Tarquin's up into P8 meanwhile. Big Sam now fighting with Maximus as off the track goes Magico. Grass on his tyres, it's disastrous news. J-Lane soldiering on though, with only half a front wing to his name. And that is brave, but fortune favours the brave. That's the important thing. J-Tark's on the move round the outside of Pathiman, despite being on the hard tyres. That is, again, a bold strategy. I don't know if it's the right strategy, but it's a strategy nonetheless. He's done a great move, though, to get past the Haas car into P7, and now Aston Martin find themselves 6th and 7th down under. Up at the front, Steve's through again. Timalele, Thanasi and Milo going at it, hammer and tong. Thanasi trying to go around the outside at the far chicane. Thought about it. Not happening, though. Timalele cutting the chicane just a little bit to make the most of the track limits. How brave are you on the brakes, Red Bull driver? Says the Mercedes man. The Red Bull man says not brave enough. And Milo's actually going to try and switch back Thanasi, although the momentum round the outside. The Red Bull man sweeps through. Terziak, though, has caught right up to this little train. And look, here's Buck 20. Dirkleton could even get involved. Pathiman has re-overtaken Tarkleton. My word. Terziak, though, immediately on the mediums. He's fired up. Won it last season. He knows he's got every chance of doing something good here this season as well. A week or two before we make the jump, the quantum leap onto F1 24. All of these drivers looking to make the most of every opportunity on F1 23. Through the sweeping right-hander, DRS enabled on this lap, and we have such a big DRS train, it's not even funny. I'm not even kidding you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, not basically everyone on the grid other than the Alfa Romeos and Magico. There is an 11-car DRS train. This is not a drill, everybody. This is very serious. And I'm all here for it. This is quite unbelievable, but what I don't want now is there to be a DRS train. I want some overtakes. Thanasi delivers that very much in kindness. Through into the lead he goes, down the inside. Milo nipping at the heels like a hungry great white shark on Timalele, but no avenue presents itself, and Terziak again finds himself sniffing underneath the diffuser of another man. A McLaren man, should I say. Meanwhile, behind is getting tasty. Maximus versus Stark. Down the main straight, DRS open, and Stark has absolutely blitzed him. And, well, he's in a Williams car, so I do not blame him. Tim dropping back significantly on Thanasi. Milo looking for the attack there. tried to go down the inside. He's actually probably just trying to get Timalele out of DRS range of Thanasi, which is a smart move, to be honest with you. Displace him, get the DRS, find yourself on the back of the Red Bull driver, and away you go. However, it's not going to happen on this lap. Tim will just keep within DRS range, but Milo might well go for the move still. If he's feeling brave, not brave enough. Not brave enough. Anything else happening further down? I'm looking down the timing sheet all the way through. It looks to be a change for second place, though. That will be on the cards. Milo, though, not opting to go for it. He remains in P3. And, well, Timalele's got a job on his hands to stay with Thanasi, and he's actually not succeeding. Just outside of a second, and it could actually be curtains already for that DRS battle. He is out of DRS. So Milo now has the chance to do something very nice as Thanasi sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and there's a little bit of a train forming behind the Mercedes driver. Jamie Tarquin, meanwhile, is past Pathyman once again. A nice little duel happening between these two. Not a great exit from Jamie Tarquin, but a second helping hand of DRS will pay dividends. Milo is through into P2, though, and now is going to try and fly along. And what did he have? What has blood cooked? Milo has been on fire this season so far. A purple Sector 1, and, well, as a result, keeps in DRS of Thanasi. And again, these two could find themselves in a world of their own. A huge issue, though, it's Pathyman. Something's happened to him. There's a safety car. Pathyman facing the wrong way. He's in the wall. And suddenly, J-Lane will be feeling a little bit good about himself as his barrier. He's claimed another nose. Does Pathyman know his nose has gone for a nose? Nobody knows, but Pathyman's nose has indeed disappeared. And Voldemort is a very happy bunny. And that was the exasperated pause of sadness. Anyway, up at the front, my goodness me, there's a huge pit lane battle now going to happen. Red Bull into the pit lane first, and it's Milo in the McLaren. Mercedes, Ferrari, it's going to be a double stack for the McLaren team. All of them going for either mediums or hards. Mediums for the Red Bull driver. Hards for Timalele. Milo comes out of the pit lane just ahead of the Aston Martin driver. He's on the mediums as well. Big Sam leads the Australian Grand Prix. Big swimmer, my goat. My absolute goat. However, as you can see from the tyre delta here. Oh, Vulcan's in P2. Okay, this just got a bit interesting. As Magico gets up into P12. In this little pit lane squabble, it's not really been a squabble, I'll be honest with you, as J-Lane moves up into P13 and with a whole front wing on his wagon. Blood can cook yet. Don't write him off. Lap number 6, we have a safety car at Albert Park. This is your running order at the moment. Big swimmer, 229, based on the amount of wins he has in his Forza Motorsport career, is in P1. Vulcan P2. Thanasi with his number representing the overtakes he's made throughout all of Blackout's history. And well, it's a miracle it hasn't gone up since, but I mean, there's only so many integers you can put on before it doesn't fit on the leaderboard anymore. Milo in 4th, Timalele completes the top 5, Terziak in 6th, Dirkwood in 7th, Buck 20 in 8th, Stark in the Williams in 9th, Jamie Tarquin in 10th, Maximus, Magico, J-Lane and Pathyman rounding out the running order. Safety car time, and what better to do than talk about the Australian Grand Prix in real life that happened this year. in 2024, and the winner was not Max Verstappen. That is quite unbelievable. Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, getting the win, and I believe it was a Ferrari 1-2 as well. That is rather impressive, I cannot lie. But we also need to talk about Sergio Perez. How has that man frauded a 2-year contract extension? Some of you will say, oh, it's because he doesn't fight Max and they need a lapdog. Well, yes, but they also need a fast lapdog, because if they don't have a fast lapdog, Red Bull won't win the Constructors. They are at deep threat of not winning it this year, to be honest with you. Ferrari and McLaren have a serious claim they've staked in recent races. Even Mercedes are finding their trajectory going in a good direction. So, Red Bull have to be on their toes, basically. In particular, Sergio Perez just has to drive better, because at the moment it is simply not good enough. Anyway, safety car is in this lap, and then we can go racing again, and it will be Big Swimmer to lead us away on his medium tyres. 5 laps older than those behind. Vulcan in P2, your P6 man in Miami, has got a chance of doing something miraculous in Melbourne. You never know. It could happen yet. Let's ride on board with the Alfa Romeo driver. Can he give Big Sam a kick up the backside, you know what I'm saying? When will Big Sam pull the trigger? Not yet, is the answer. I thought for a second he was going to do so. Sliding out of the last corner though, he will now. And we are back on the way for the Blackout Racing League as Big Sam crosses the line. He is your leader. Vulcan in second. Thanasi in third. Milo in fourth. Timalele in fifth. And it is all action as Maximus gets a 3-second time penalty. That is action. Let's see what's cooking up though. Big Sam already almost with a second's worth of a lead. He does have it, and Stark is going for moves on Jamie Tarquin. Round the outside, you naughty man. That is absolutely lovely as Jamie Tarquin gets a 3-second time penalty and a switchback as well. I'll tell you what, a switchback at the fast right-hander, you don't normally see one of those, but that is quite saucy. Thanasi will surely meanwhile get the move done on Vulcan. He has to dispatch of him and hone his reticule firmly on Big Swimmer up ahead. He has to do so in order to not lose too much time, although, let's be honest, on newer tyres, and it's Thanasi we're talking about here, so well, he is inevitable. He is him. Thanasi wakes up in the morning and goes, I am me. And I wouldn't be surprised that he does. Jaylay's made a move on my husband. No, my husband's lost. Did you bully him? I will find out. Anyway, Jaylane looking for a bit of a resurgence here. Maximus with a 3-second time penalty as well. Jaylane with the bit between his teeth. As Vulcan's been displaced once again, this time by Timalele, and shoved out a bit wide for good measure. It means Terziak can come down the inside. Vulcan with a huge snap into the wall. Luckily, keeps the car in the right direction. That was almost a plane crash. It means his teammate gets a free position out of it. So, well, there's that. Oh no! Big crash! Just Vulcan's round! And it's not a big crash, thankfully, but that could have been curtains. I think he hit the wall anyway for good measure. He's got a 3-second time penalty for just existing. That's really mean. Big Sam's not going to fight this very much. Thanasi up into P1. Milo up into P2. Scratch that. Milo's trying to go for the lead of the Blackout Racing League in Australia. He's into the lead of the Blackout Racing League in Australia. McLaren man is in P1 again. He is going for that hat-trick. He will not be stopped by anyone. But Thanasi will keep him honest. You know he will. Jambul Tarkle is behind Buck 20 meanwhile. And he's on mediums. A lot of competitors ahead of him on the hard tyres, but he does have a 3-second time penalty, which does sort of muddy the water in that particular aspect. However, you never know, he could cook up. Vulcan still has a whole front wing, that is good to see. Now, back up at the front, it's Thanasi getting ahead of Milo, but DRS is enabled. And that could provide some great zest as Timalele moves up into P3. And Terziak will probably do well to follow through Timmerlane as he goes for the outside line. He's diving round the outside. Very late on the brakes. Nice and late on the brakes. Well done, sir. Carbon ceramic brakes screaming for resuscitation. But Terziak says, no, sir, I am relentless. I will not let you have a break. I will not let up. Not just yet, anyway. We have a job to do. And with DRS, well, first on the menu is Stanasi to be gobbled up by the rear wing flappage. Then we have a nice big train. Dirkleton is going to get Big Sam. Surely he will round the outside, and Big Sam was very, very close to the Aston Martin car. Didn't make it easy. Buck 20 trying to go for switchbacks on Big Sam. And it's just such a horrible sinking feeling. He's losing position. Oh, no, J-Lane! No! J-Lane's out of the Australian Grand Prix. He's hit the inside wall. It might have been a mistake on the outside curb. It might have been contact. You have no idea. But it's another safety car. And it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. Terziak's in the pits, meanwhile. Okay. That is very interesting. All right. Well, the cat is amongst the pigeons now, and not metaphorically. It is physically amongst the pigeons. It is hounding them. And there's quite a few people pitting in the process as well, as I hear someone's joined me, and well, I can probably guess who it is, and all I can say is I'm sorry. That is all I can say. I'm sorry.
A debrief here.
Right. Well, let's analyse the situation. What happened?
We stayed onto the mediums, which we pitted onto too late. We should have pitted onto them lap 1 after we picked up all the damage.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, after the safety car restart, everyone's just bunched up. We're getting into the DRS. There's the extra speed coming through, but the front tyres just overheated. We've sat on 104, and we got into the chicane, which they're about to pass now. And, yeah, one thing led to another. The fronts just gave out, and the front of the car spun round into the wall, and front light tire came off.
Gosh, it's just not. Let's face it, it's not been a good week, really, has it?
It will come. It will come.
On balance, but it will come. Ladies and gentlemen, may I remind you that on the J-Lane's YouTube channel, subscribe, watch every video. There will be a Hungarian Grand Prix race overview, and you will witness poetry. That is all I will tell you. You will witness poetry.
Yeah, it seems that Hungary, Monaco. I think those are my best results.
Hungary and Monaco, yeah. Monaco. Yeah. Spoilers for all of you that haven't watched season 15, but Monaco, J-Lane got P4. It's just a masterclass, really. When others faltered, he rose to the challenge, and that's all you need to know. And then in Hungary,
21 seconds to buck 57 in P3 on the final, I think, 6 laps.
Jeez.
So it was, it was ascending class, but not enough.
Well, on my screen you got P3 because apparently Terziak made another stop, although I disconnected.
Oh, and you know, on your stream we had the phenomenal Austin win.
Yes, we did. That was
absolutely embarrassed everyone on track.
That was a scam. Can't believe it. I know what I saw that day. I'm just saying.
My partner legitimately had a little bit of your commentary as her ringtone whenever I FaceTimed her.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, no, legitimate.
Oh my god. Well, I'm honoured, I guess. I don't know. What do I say? Thanks? I don't know. I've never been someone's someone's text tone. What's going on? Anyway, we're under safety car right now, and you know what? I'll keep you in here just to kind of, as the safety car's in on this lap, which is interesting. Terziak and a bunch of others behind have pit. Obviously, they're in, well, Milo and Co are in the same boat as Big Sam and Vulcan were in terms of having significantly older tyres. But now it's their turn to sort of become the prey. So, I mean, what do they do in this situation? Because we've seen how powerful the newer tyres were on the first restart. So, is it almost an inevitability, or do they have to sort of work together at this point?
I mean, Milo's very fortunate to have Buck 20 and P5. The pair of them have been known to drive phenomenally together and work well on every track to maximize the best result for the team.
This is true.
You've got Max and Pathaman, who are not having the best of race at present moment, both with penalties, both actively complaining on the comms about lack of grip and communication on track about on their plans. So, yes, Terziak is technically the net P1. He's going to have a bit of a fight to get through the field. Let alone remembering the fact we have Dirk in P4, who is one of the more phenomenal drivers to try and pass.
You are absolutely not wrong at all. Terziak trying to make amends, though, immediately by sweeping round the outside of Pathaman, complaining about grip. He's going to have more to complain about now as he's elbowed and shouldered off the track. Up into P7 goes Terziak. P8 goes Jamie Tarquin. He's gone on softs. And, well, if they're not goosed by the end, I'll be very shocked. But Terziak up into P7. Next target in his crosshairs, Maximus in the sister Haas car. Both Haas cars have something in common. It's not their nationality. It's not their pace necessarily. It's that they both have a penalty this race. But Terziak is going to try and do a job through the chicane as my husband Magico is up into P10. This is incredible stuff, and something terrible has happened. What is going on? There's a McLaren off. Buck 20, who would have been Milo's last line of defence to the bitter end, has had a mistake. Well, he's the bringer of his own downfall. He's down in P10 now, behind my husband. He's now up into P9. Go on, son.
Ooh,
rooting for him. Big send from Tarquin. Massive send from Tarquin in the background as Milo sets the fastest lap. Already nearly 1.5 seconds ahead. And all I can think about now is Stark's now going for a move on Maximus. Through he goes. Again, the older tyres. It's just a sinking feeling. Plummeting exponentially down the order. Magico spins it into the wall on the inside. And all of the hard work has been completely undone. Got too much off that outside curb on the exit of turn 2. And like I say, all of the hard work, all of the graft has been completely nullified. He's met barrier. And it's a chip off the old nose cone. And he's
just got to bring it home.
I feel like he's contemplating his existence for a few seconds there as he resets the car on the track. Milo, though, as I was about to ask you, trying to go for the hat-trick at the moment. Just keeping Thanasi out of arm's reach, but he could have a chance of doing it based on his pace at the moment.
Before the race, he did make the claim that this was his strongest track. Losing the rear like that, though, is not going to be doing him any favours.
We are the ultimate cursing team. Look at this. The top 3.
He knows. I've told him many a time that that heavy right foot is going to cost him, and he's just lost 4 tenths coming into that final sector.
Don't screw it up, Milo. DRS enabled on this lap, and there's even more stuff to fret about. As Terziak now sets the fastest lap, 1 minute 19.7, but he's got a Dirkleton ahead of him. Quite crucially, and there's only 6 laps to go. Time is ticking away. No Rolex sponsorships, but Terziak is not wasting any time going through that narrow avenue. Down the inside he goes, and cutting through the field like a knife through butter. That is absolutely exquisite racecraft, but it's a 2.5 second gap. And not only that, it's a DRS train ahead of him that's going to gain time exponentially down every single straight. Although it's Tim Alele looking like he's going for the move. DRS open, probably burning battery. He's not burning battery at all. Thanasi's burning battery in retaliation as they head into the chicane. Tim does well to duck out of the way, but now gets the better exit as a result. Flappage is being extracted all the way down. Does he dare go round the outside? The answer to that is absolutely not. And Milo will keep the lead despite everything. Terziak, though, just from those 2 straights, even though it wasn't the greatest chicane from either of the 2 ahead, lost 4 attempts, is only just able to get them back again through these corners. And also not really shaking off Dirkleton, and Vulcan's had a problem. Not a huge problem, though, luckily. He's kept all 4 wheels in the same direction.
Came into contact with Buck 20, went straight into his diffuser.
Oh, gosh. Buck 20's not having the rub of the green this week either, as it turns out, as soft runner Jamie Tarkleton is through on Derek Dirkleton. Into P5 he goes, and now can set his sights firmly on hopefully the higher points. Terziak's just gained a second within the last sector and the first sector. Although we come up to the DRS straight now, and that is where all that advantage will be completely crippled once again. Anything going on further down, J-Lane has been my eyes and ears, basically. He's seen that Buck 20 actually had contact with Vulcan, but it's Big Sam that could go on the move. A little train between the KarlsCars and Big Swimmer is developing, although the top three now bunching up hugely. Got to sort of work together and not trip over each other, because Terziak's pace currently is absolutely scorching out there.
5 different constructors filling the top 5 places.
It's great. Look at that.
Love to see it.
Was that? Let me try and do the calculations. 7 constructors in the top 10. We'll take it. Vulcan, get up there, lad. We need 8. Come on, do it. Do it for Alfa Romeo. I believe in you.
Yeah, Alfa Romeo need the points now.
Lap 17. Timalele tries to go down the inside. He thought about it, had a little nibble, but unfortunately did not take a proper chomp of the main course. He's going to try and go back for seconds, but, well, the Thanasi buffet says no, and I don't know entirely what that means, and I'd rather not go into it. So let's watch that gap from Terziak behind melt away. What was 1.8 seconds now is 1.2 seconds, and as long as he doesn't have any track limits penalties to his name, he's going to thrust himself right in contention. He's only just outside of DRS range, and now things begin to get quite tasty. Milo in the lead of this race still, as the 2 behind him have a score to settle. Would have thought one of them at least could have tried to swap positions at this point, gain some sort of lasting advantage, but again, you just end up tripping over yourself as Terziak gains 3 tenths through the chicane, despite all the time he lost in a straight line. The nickname, the Flying Scotsman, I gave him wasn't necessarily applicable to the first 3 races, although he did well in Miami. Saudi Arabia, race to forget, we ignore it. Bahrain could have potentially come together, but it was quite scatty all over the place, to be honest with you. This race, though, not the case. He is chugging along very nicely indeed, and now is in the DRS train. And Vulcan is up into P11.
Yeah, on the last lap, managing to get past Buck 20 coming down into turn 3.
Terziak's down the inside. Sorry, Terziak's absolutely muscled his way past Timalele into the podium positions. This is crunch time. 3 laps to go, 3 positions to gain. He's a third of the way there. Top honours could well be his if he keeps this momentum going. J-Lane, back to you.
It appears, though, that Milo has decided to deploy his ERS and is now opened up to 1.1 seconds away.
Well, that's what he was waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Still got half a battery left and a lot of pace in the tank. It leaves Thanasi extremely exposed, though, to Terziak, which is illegal in most cases. But in Blackout, it's almost free game. Almost. We still have some limits anyway. Oh, Vulcan's in 10th. 8 constructors in the top 10. Blackout rejoice. And now, Vulcan's just got to get away and hopefully get outside of 3 seconds of Mr. Buck 20. And that'll be a great day at the office. Terziak down the inside into turn 1. No, he doesn't. No, he does not. It was almost happening. And what on earth's happened there? There has been a moment. There has been a small moment, if only brief, but it's actually for Maximus only, as he's just pootling round into the pit lane. Well, if he needed to change his front wing, there's no more convenient a place than the penultimate corner to have an incident. It is still an egg on face moment, as Thanasi has egg on his face, very much so. He is the practical yoker. He's got another 3-second time penalty. And now Terziak has the nibble of DRS, but Thanasi has burned every single last morsel of electrical energy. Milo is quite contently staying on half a whole battery, which is great news for him. Just let those 2 fight it out. And, oh, never mind. It's over. It is firmly over.
Blessing.
Well, there we go then. But passing Thanasi goes Terziak, and he now has to get up the road to try and get away from Timalele. That's got to be his priority now. He will be in P3 anyway, regardless, so long as he doesn't get swamped by a Red Bull man. Meanwhile, there's tussling going on behind between the Aston Martins and the Williams of Stark. Dirkleton in 5th, Tarquitton in 6th, His name's gone through so many different iterations, I can't even begin to describe it. Stark's tried to banzai it down the inside, somehow has missed the pit wall, somehow has missed the other wall, and I don't think he'll be very happy about being swiped off, but equally, might not have been completely alongside. So, how about that? Pathiman, though, has a chance to overtake Big Sam, and Thanasi still keeping well within range on Terziak, so it's not over yet. Buck 20 in range of Vulcan. Will he go for a dastardly dive? No, he won't. No, he will not. He absolutely will not. And unbelievably, when all is said and very much done, it's looking increasingly more likely, no matter what the opposition throw at him, the hat-trick will be complete. Buck 20 might have fell by the wayside. In fact, he's got a 3-second time penalty. So Vulcan, if you just overtake him using the DRS, there is every hope that you will get in the top 10, and it will properly be 8 constructors in the top 10, and we will rejoice forever. Here goes Vulcan, round the outside. Can he do it? Yes, he can. That is a delightful move. And Buck 20's sliding out of that corner. None of them have got DRS, fair enough. Milo out of the final corner. He has time to celebrate. It's a hat-trick of wins in Blackout Season 16. Timalele's out of the race. Timalele's crashed on the final straight. I have no idea what's happened, but it means Aston Martin 4th and 5th. Stark in 6th. What on earth happened to Timalele? I missed the initial part of it. I saw a Mercedes car spearing into the wall. The main man next to me might actually have an answer to that query. I have no idea what's happened to him. Vulcan will finish in 10th place as a result. It won't be 8 constructors. It will still only be 7. But either way, Vulcan in the top 10. It's a great success. And now we wait for Maximus and Magico, and it is very much a day to forget for Mercedes, which I didn't think I'd be saying after all of that, as Maximus gets the fastest lap of the race. 3 extra points straight into his kitty. Magico, well, it's what could have been, really. Was in P7, but the mistake out of turn 2 cost him dearly. And I think he has front wing damage for good measure, but he will finish the race, unlike his teammate. And that is the most important thing. Across the line he goes, past the remains, the graveyard of his teammate Timalele. And it is a crossing the line that exudes depression.
I believe Timalele got it all lost on the curb on the final corner, then drifted into the grass, and that was it. His car just continued to be pulled along the barrier.
Unbelievable. On the final straight, what could have been P4, it will still be points because he did complete 75% of the race distance, but what would have been at least 17 points. And considering the penalties that others had, it would have been more even. Actually, it would have been 24. Now, it's 13. 3 points. 24 points versus 3. It's not 3 points gained, it's 21 points lost. Either way, Milo's done it again. Milo has done it again, and he is on an absolute tear. Unbelievable from him, honestly. What a drive. What a week for him as well. A hat-trick of wins. How about that? Terziak, P2. What could have been on the fresher tyres. Thanasi actually got another 3-second time penalty. Don't know if I missed it or not. Either way, it results in P3 nonetheless. Aston Martin 4th and 5th. That will send their spirits soaring. Stark in 6th. Big Sam ends up in 7th. What a guy. Pathiman in 8th. Buck 20 in 9th. Vulcan, driver of the day. Got 10th. Don't care what actually happened in his race. Driver of the day. Maximus in 11th. Magico in 12th. Tim, DNFs on the final straight. And J-Lane, well, we don't talk about J-Lane's race. It's very sad. If you want to see a much more happy ending to a J-Lane race, consult his YouTube channel for the Hungarian Grand Prix, particularly the sprint race. You will enjoy it. Well, there we are. Blackout Racing is done and dusted for week 2. And all that remains to do is have a brief overview of proceedings for next week. Is 100% race around Qatar. And I I think J-Lane, I imagine J-Lane's listening in. If he's not, I'm going to say it anyway and hope he hears me anyway. Qatar next week, 100% race. Lots of different strategies, lots of fuel to burn, lots of track limits. Potential opportunities?
A very heavy track for fuel. So we're expecting to see cars having to lift and coast a lot more into corners. Getting the strategy right and doing a little bit of preparation gives a lot of opportunity next week.
Absolutely, absolutely. And strategy. I mean, I imagine there's safety cars as well, but there's not much to choose between. Maybe even doing a 3-stop round Qatar, to be honest with you, if you really want to go pure pace. But then there's the track limits
soft,
to
medium,
think about.
soft.
Soft, medium, soft. Go soft, medium, soft, soft if you're feeling brave. Proper 3-stop. Anywho, that's 100%. In fact, I'll get the calendar up on the screen so you can actually all see what on earth is going on. 100% race round Qatar. Like I say, the R in Qatar, the missing A, it just leaves the R exposed. That's because there's going to be a lot of people DNFing, probably. And then, whether we are going to F1 24 on the 24th of June, although there is a France race, so it might be after that. But we'll definitely be on F1 24 in July. The turn of a new month will mark F1 24 110%, and it will be a Vegas sprint race and a Japanese Grand Prix 50% race as well, which could be quite interesting. But it will be Qatar next week. And so, all that remains is to run down the proceedings from this week's races. Miami and Australia. It was Milo doing the double. That is quite unbelievable. Terziak says, I'm allergic to winning. Well, at least you finished the race. At least you finished the race. Timalele crashed out on the final straight. How about that? It's consistency that's key in Blackout. I found that out the hard way. Getting 16th and 8th in the first week wasn't a great idea. I don't recommend it. Anywho, Miami, Milo, masterclass. Well done. McLaren masterclass in general, other than Buck 20. He didn't really have a masterclass in Miami. But it's all right. It might have gone better for him in race 2. Other than that, it was on the podium. It was Thanasi and it was Timalele on the podium. And Timalele would have been hoping to take that podium and turn it into something more in Australia. And he would have done, had he not crashed out on the final straight, which was rather unfortunate. But anywho, then we had J-Lane. It was a week of depression. However, Qatar next week, its fortunes easily can change in Blackout. Like I say, no driver should ever be defined by a couple of weeks' worth of races. And that is something we can all take with us throughout the rest of today, or tonight, or whenever you're watching this for that matter. So, I can turn the music up. And we can bid all of you watching adieu. Thank you for watching another week of Blackout Racing. Terziak says, define me by the weeks I won, please. I'll define you by your consistency first half of last season. Practically peerless. It was unbelievable. Australia, though, it was Milo again, and then second place was Terziak. Third place was Thanasi. A double podium for Thanasi. A double win for Milo, though. It is 60 points to his account, which I believe means he is the championship leader. And that is quite amazing. J-Lane, if you are listening, anything to say to the people before we head off?
We'll just do better next week.
Yes! Quite right. He will do better next week. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. So, that means we will end proceedings there. Thank you all very much for watching another week of the Blackout Racing League. If you did enjoy, consider following. I'd appreciate it. Consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Consider just following all of the Blackout chaos. That's what I recommend you do. And also go to J-Lane's YouTube channel if you want to watch previous races in a very, very, very professional format with some of my commentary. go to Jaylane's YouTube channel, Jaylan3. You will find very, very enticing things. And then when you're done with that, go and follow Magico, because he's my husband, and I love him, and you should love him too. And then after you've done that, watch more Blackout, and then complete this, and then just keep repeating the cycle over and over again. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for Blackout, for allowing me to commentate. As always, it's an honour and a privilege every single week that I get to do this with you. And it's the reason that I enjoy doing what I do. You're very welcome, Terziak. You are very, very welcome indeed. We will be back next week for the lone Qatar Grand Prix. Until then, get this stream ending screen up and running. Look at that. I look like a small bean. Look at that, boy. That's unbelievable. My hair changed colour. Ah, I'm now chestnut coloured. I might actually be ginger. Oh God. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day. And tune in next week for Qatar, because it's going to be probably very crazy. Until then, I thank you for watching, and goodbye.